Welcome to Empowered by Iron, a podcast for female strength athletes by female strength athletes. We are your hosts, Mary Morton from Bare Bones Training and PhD candidate, and Kristen Lander from Fiercely Fueled Nutrition Coaching. Hey guys! So this week we're going to talk about, we're going to have a more nutrition-based episode, and we're going to talk to you guys about meal prepping. So a good observation that Kristen has made, and I think a lot of you have made, is there's definitely different variations of meal prep between different people, and some things seem to work for some people, some things seem to work for other people, depending on if you're counting macros or if you're strict or whatever. So today we're going to talk about meal prepping when you're following a flexible dieting plan.
Yep. So basically, we just want to present to you guys various options because what works for your friend or your training partner might not work for you. And so there's no wrong way to meal prep or not meal prep unless it's just a method that isn't working for you. So if you're struggling with things and meal prepping is stressing you out or causing you anxiety, then listen up, because we have a few different ways that you might not be aware that you can do and still be considered doing flexible dieting and watching what you're eating. So, basically, the top level of meal prepping that everyone knows about is people cook a lot of food in batches, and they, spend a couple hours on Sunday and they make all of their food for the week. They make all of their meals, put everything in Tupperware, and then put it in the fridge, and that's what you eat all week. That's really effective. That's a good way to do it. It's great for people that are super busy. So if you're working over 40 hours a week and you've got kids and you're training and whatever, your life is really busy, that's a way to set yourself up for success for sure. But there's a whole group of people that this does not work for one bit. And I happen to fall into that category. I think Mary falls into that category.
Yep.
So for me, if I do that, if I cook all my meals on Sunday, by Tuesday, I'm like, I don't want this. It's not that I don't like the food. It's that it feels way too strict or restrictive, and it's just, I can't handle it. It's just doesn't work for me. So,
I think if I could jump in, Kristen and I both have had our own battles with disordered eating of some variety. And there was definitely a time in my life where I would meal prep some nasty ass food on Sunday, and truly it was disgusting. It's like frozen veggies, which is fine, but I would barely cook them, so they'd be soggy all week, nasty.
And like no flavoring.
No flavoring.
No spices.
Couldn't add salt. It's bad for you. Like plain chicken breast, nasty shit. So I'd cook all that on Sunday, and that would basically be my meal the entire week, because I was eating like 6 to 10 meals a day. The small,
right,
stupid, speeds up your metabolism bullshit, right?
Yeah. And
so I think Kristen's right, like as I've gone through this fitness journey, at this point, sometimes even if I prep like a lunch the night before, the day of, I'm like, man. So I just wake up an extra half an hour in the morning, but we can talk about that in a minute. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, you're jumping into the next thing I wanted to talk about. So I wanted to talk about that top level of prepping everything, and then the next level I want to talk about is prepping nothing. So the exact opposite, prepping nothing, which is what I do, with one tiny exception, which we'll talk about towards the end. I don't prep any of my food. I can't do it. If I even so much as enter in my breakfast for the next day into my tracking app before I go to bed, like if I come up with this sounds really good, I'm going to have this tomorrow, let's see what the macros are, and I put it in there, I'll get up in the morning and I won't want it. I don't know. If anything feels like it's strict or restrictive, I just can't handle it. It doesn't work for me. So I don't prep anything.
Actually, I can second that. So I used to, when I was really restrictive, I'd track all my food the night before for the whole day, and then I was almost depressed the entire day, because the minute I didn't eat the way that I had planned to eat, I felt like a failure, and so then I'd binge on cookies.
Okay, so you were setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So that's exactly how I feel with prepping food. But I will say this, like, the biggest thing that I learned, and I learned this through trial and error, is that prepping all of my food and having this huge plan to what I'm going to do, I would end up cheating, or, quote unquote cheating.
Right.
And eating foods that I wasn't planning on eating, and then I'd be confused and I wouldn't know how to piece things together to make things fit, and it was just an epic failure. And so I was like, screw it. I'm just not prepping anything anymore. I'm eating these foods. I have kind of like, I've been doing flexible dieting for a long time, many years, and that's what works for me. If you're not into flexible dieting and it doesn't work for you, fine, fuck it, don't do it. I don't care. This is just what works for me. I'm very analytical. I need to know for a fact that because I break everything down into, like, what's my total daily energy expenditure, and I have a formula. You've seen it. You know my formula. Yeah. I'm super analytical that way, and I have to know that I'm fueling my body appropriately, because if not, I start to go, I'm pretty sure I need those like 7 cookies, and now I need those like 20 cookies, and then I just start playing games with myself, and it doesn't work. So this is like, I'm still, when I say I don't prep my food, I am still strict in terms of, I hit my macros. I have a plan. I stick to my plan 99.9% of the time. I just have found a way to do it that's really easy for me. So that's why we wanted to talk to you guys about this. I will say that I have like 3 breakfasts that I rotate.
Right.
And they all have about the same amount of macros. And I will, change things out a little bit and make them more interesting, because you have to have variety in your diet, or you're going to be missing out on essential vitamins and minerals. You can't eat the same thing every single day. So if you guys are doing that, stop. You need to add in some different fruits and some different vegetables, or you're going to have a problem. But I know people that do that. Don't do it. Stop. Anyway, so I have my breakfast, the 3 that I rotate out are all about the same. My lunch is one that's almost the same every day, and this is the one exception, because when I get off work, I have been on my feet literally running around for 5 hours, and so I'm starving. I have no time to eat between breakfast and lunch on the days that I'm in my office, and so I have shredded chicken always in my fridge, and that's usually my lunch, because I train in the mid-afternoon, and I want my lunch to be low fat or no fat, so it doesn't interfere with the carbohydrate uptake. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, listen to our episode that is about manipulating carbohydrates. We talk about that quite a bit in there, and how you don't want to have fat before you're training. Anyhow, I always have chicken that I have made in the crock pot in my fridge, and that I do something with that for lunch. I make a salad, or a chicken salad, or whatever, tacos without
There's
cheese.
still a good variety of what you can do with shredded chicken.
Absolutely, the sky's the limit. If you guys don't know how to make shredded chicken, I'm going to tell you, because I didn't learn this till I was 32 or something, and I feel like a moron. So I'm going to tell you guys so you don't feel like an idiot, okay? Take a crock pot, put your chicken in there, just chicken breasts, pour a little water, a little chicken broth in there, put it on high, 3 hours. When it's done, shred it, weigh it, put it in the fridge.
Done.
The easiest thing in the world. I don't know how I didn't know that. Man, I was cutting up chicken for every meal and putting it in the fry pan and trying not to get too much oil and whatever. It's stupid. So put it in the crock pot and be done with it. It's the easiest thing in the world. On to that tune, I also want to tell you guys one of my big tricks that works for me in terms of not planning meals is that I always buy my meats in weights that are divisible by 4 ounces, because I almost always have 4 ounces of protein per meal. And so I don't buy the chicken that's 1.37 pounds of chicken. I used to do that, and then I'd have to do the math and how many ounces is that, and put it, and don't buy the one that's 1.25 or 1 or 0.75, whatever. Make it so that it's divisible by 4 ounces.
That's really smart. If you If you guys follow any sort of plant-based diet, though, I'm kind of sitting here with a dumb look in my eye because I can't do that. I mean, I could prep a lot of tofu at the beginning of the week, but
right.
It's different if you follow plant-based.
If you follow a plant-based diet, talk to Mary.
I got you. You got questions, you DM me.
So anyway, and then, my dinners are almost always it's like assembly of food. So I have my protein, I have my carbohydrate, and I have my vegetables. And it's usually higher fat because that's what my husband likes to eat. I eat it long enough after training that it doesn't matter. And I save like half my fats for dinner. So this is what I do every day.
You know what I've noticed about people who follow flexible dieting? I think like a normal person would go and get like a regular McDonald's Happy Meal, right? And it would be like, I know, it's gross.
But like who does that? Don't do that.
Calm down. But let's say you get that, but it's like a typical meal. Like it makes sense, right? It's a burger, it's fries, and it's a drink. Like that's kind of a regular meal. I found that people who follow flexible dieting are more likely to make weird food combinations. Like things that you're like, well, this sounds really weird, but it works really well and it tastes really good, but it sounds super weird. Like for when I was a while back, I started making cauliflower oats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Okay, I did that one time though, and my husband walked in the house and was like, "What the fuck are you making?" It's like a giant fart in here, so I stopped making that. Yeah. Because something about cooking the riced cauliflower stinks really bad.
Yeah, it doesn't smell great, but like I found, and I think a lot of you guys probably as you dabble with flexible dieting, you'll find yourself making these weird food combinations, and just know your family's gonna look at you weird, but they're just haters and they're missing out on some good shit.
Yeah, basically, I mean, flexible dieting, you just are gonna pick foods that the macros add up and it sounds good, and if it doesn't taste good, try again next time. Oops, failed recipe. Okay.
Unfortunately, you can't get macros back though. Remember that.
Yeah, you still have to eat it. There's no refund. There's no macro refund. I wish there was.
Bummer.com.
Or throw it out and then start over. But so anyway, and then I have like 2 or 3 pre and post training meals that I eat. So when I say that I don't meal prep, I don't, but
like
I always know, I don't, exactly, I don't make the food, but I always know, like, I've been doing it long enough, I know about what I can have, and I know what's going to fit into my macros, and I just have a really good sense of things, and I do the same thing every day. Most of my meals are around the same amount of macros every day, and I always, try to save room for a snack after dinner, because that's delicious.
Halo Top, right?
And no, not so much anymore. I try to lay off because I would prefer to just eat the whole pint of Halo Top, and I don't like to save that many macros. I don't like to take those away from my training time food.
That's so funny. So yeah, there's different kinds, just like she said, there's different kinds of prep. There's the prep all on one day. You can do what I do, which I always prep the day before. So like I don't know, my eating's been really weird recently, but in the past week, here's what I've been doing. When I wake up, I prep my lunch and my pre-workout, which is usually something like, I don't know, tofu and some sort of veg, and then maybe a carb. And then for my pre-workout, it's like oatmeal or pancakes or something. Like I'll get everything ready in the morning. Oatmeal's nice because it's quick. Like I can just dump half a cup and add some berries and I'm good to go. And I'll have a protein shake in the morning. So like I know kind of typically my first 3 meals are always the same. Like even throughout the week they're typically the exact same. But I make that conscious choice every day. I'm not like Monday, okay, well, I'm going to have tofu and veg, tofu and veg, tofu and veg. I the night before I'm like, maybe this. In the morning I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But dinner for me varies a lot.
Yeah,
but I'm currently I flexibly diet in the fact that there's no food off limits for me, but I'm currently not. I don't track at all. I kind of just gauge myself on how hungry am I? Did I wake up really hungry? Did I wake up really full? And I just food that day.
So you do more intuitive eating right now, which is
Yeah.
awesome. And that the thing is, you guys, if you follow a flexible dieting plan or you want to follow a flexible dieting plan, just know that you don't have to do that for eternity. And maybe you want to do intuitive eating for a while, and then at some point you might say, I kind of want to track. You can go in and out of these things. There's not like, you don't have to declare how you're eating and then always eat that way. Just do what works for you, and know that what works for you today might not work for you in a week or in a month or in a year, and that's okay. You just have to stay in tune with yourself and know what are the signs of things not working.
Yeah.
So like if you start having anxiety or stress surrounding your food, that's bad. That's a really big red flag. That's something like you need to tap into that and figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Or if you've like eaten what you supposedly planned, and all of a sudden you find yourself binging on random things, like not even like the typical cookies or ice cream. You just find yourself eating things you hadn't planned and you feel very guilty about it. Again, time to reassess.
Yep. So that kind of brings us to the third method of meal prep that I think for most people, this is a really good method, and it's kind of this in-between, like basically it's preparing ingredients for quick cooking. And because the number one reason that I see my clients failing, if you want to call it failing, I don't even like to use that word, but when they're not sticking to their plan, they're feeling bad about it and they're not sure what's going on. Most of the time it's because they're in a hurry. They don't have any food in their house that would fit their macros, and they're like, screw it, I'm going to McDonald's. And then they don't know how to track that, and they can't, right. It gets out of control. So I think just prepping ingredients like I talked about with the chicken or whatever your protein is. I like to build my meals around my protein usually, and then go from there. But so have your protein that's prepped and ready to go in your fridge if you can. Have prepared salads. So I have a couple of salads that I really like to make. I love, do you ever go to Whole Foods and get their detox salad?
No.
Oh my goodness, it's so good. Anyway, you and I live a long ways away from Whole Foods. There used to be one like 2 minutes from my house, but whatever, that was big city living. So anyway, but I found like a copycat recipe. So it's just like broccoli and cauliflower. It's all riced and carrots, and it's got some like currants in it and some lemon juice and parsley. Anyway, it's super good, and I like to, when I have time, I'll have that in the fridge, and then I can throw my chicken on that, whatever. So have some things that are prepped. Chop up a bunch of veggies that you could easily, when you get home from work, toss some olive oil and salt and pepper and throw them in the oven and roast them. Have stuff kind of prepared. Most vegetables you can cut up. They'll last about 3 to 5 days in the fridge if you store them in an airtight container. Cauliflower, if you're going to rice that, you've got like 2
T-minus 2 hours. You need to get that shit done.
I one time tried to go like 3 days
Ew.
with it, and that was a little too much.
Oh, gross.
Right.
Woo.
It was, I still ate it, but
I bet you regretted that one.
It was fine. So the prepping of ingredients is definitely something that I've done in the past, and is about the most meal prep that I can handle. And I'm not sure, I can't recall when I was doing that, like why I was doing it. It was just what was working for me at the moment, and that just doesn't work for me right now. I can't seem to plan past like an hour of my life right now. I'm very, very, very busy, and you would think that then having all these meals planned out would be the best way for me to go.
It's such a stress.
Can't do it.
It's too much. Well, and like I envy your situation a little bit, because you don't work from home, but you work very close to your home.
I work close to my home, but I'm in the office 3 days a week, and 2 days a week I do work from home. Right.
So, there's a difference. Like if some of you have typical 9 to 5 jobs 5 days a week like me, you don't have the luxury to go downstairs and cook.
Yep.
You do have to prep. Like, it's not an excuse that you don't, you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to throw my macros out today because I didn't plan to bring food. Well, no, you still need to get your shit together if that is your goal.
Yeah, like, you know your schedule.
Yes.
So know yourself enough. Like, am I going to cook when I get home, or do I need to have something prepared because I know that I'm too tired and I don't want to cook when I get home?
Yep. For me, I always come home and I'm hungry, so I just started keeping plain rice cakes around, and I'll just eat a rice cake or two when I get home, and that's enough to satisfy me with the munchies while I prep whatever I need. And then I'm only 60 calories in the hole or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not much. And another caveat to keep in mind, guys, is this all depends on your goal too. If your goal is just to be healthy, remind yourself that that's also mental health. So not just physical, but mental health. So if this is stressing you out, if it's too much and your goal is just to be healthy, take a step back and focus on your mental health. But if your goal is to, let's say, step on a bikini show, a figure show or a bikini competition, or cut a weight class, you have to keep your goals in mind. And I'm sure there was a time when you were cutting to 63, Kristen, that you truly did have to meal prep.
I did one time. I was going out of town for Easter, and I had nationals in like a week. And I wasn't even going to go. Then I was like, okay, don't be crazy, just go. But then I was crazy because I prepped every single meal and brought it with me. But that's because I was staying at people's houses and family, and there was just no way I was going to ever make weight if I didn't know what was in my food.
Yeah. So if you have an extreme goal or a very big goal, you have to remember that you will have to do some sort of prep. It's not an excuse.
Right.
Hit your goal. Like, do what you want to do.
Yeah. And I have very clear goals right now, and I am able to reach them without meal prepping.
Right.
If I was not reaching my goals, this is the thing you guys need to know. If you're not reaching your goals, figure out why, and maybe it's the method you're using to get to your goals. So maybe try something else. If you are meal prepping everything and you hate it, try not meal prepping. It's going to be a little confusing and stressful at first, but that's okay. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. If you're doing it the way I'm doing it, where you don't prep anything, but yet you don't have the flexibility in your schedule like I have to be able to, I literally cook every single meal at home. I have worked my life in such a way that I'm home for every meal because that's important to me. I decided. Damn you. But I decided that like 20 years ago. That's what I wanted to do. And so I arranged my life in that fashion. I'm not saying I'm weird. I don't know. But anyway, I did.
I mean, that's my goal, but I currently can't do that.
Yeah. And there were times where I couldn't do that either.
Right.
So, anyway, just reassess where you're at if things aren't working and try something different. There's nothing wrong with playing around. The worst that's going to happen is it's not going to work. Okay. Well, now you know 2
things that don't work.
Right.
And you just
try something else. Right. And flexible dieting is not the only way. Like Mary was talking about, you're not really doing flexible dieting right now. You don't have set macros.
Nope.
You are eating, you do have the fortune of having done it, so you kind of know what your protein needs are, you kind of know what your carb needs are, you kind of know what your fat needs are, and then you're able to adjust your diet accordingly based on how you feel on a given day.
Right. Like I know, for example, pre-workout is 0 fat, basically.
Yep.
And I build every meal around my protein, too, so like my shake in the morning is a 1.5 scoops of protein and then typically a carb, so fruit or something. And then my next meal, let's say I choose tofu. Okay, tofu, and then what else? Okay, I want veggies and I want a smaller carb source. It takes time, but it's not like I'm eating crappy food before I go train. Like I feel really good when I'm training, so I know I'm doing something right. It just takes time. You just have to. The other thing is you have to listen to your body. You can't say you're listening to your body and then eat way more than you need to and then wonder why you're feeling like shit. Like you really do have to learn how to stop eating. Yeah. Or eat more if that's your problem.
Right. Or eat more. Yeah, because there's definitely people that way under eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have clients who leave a lot of macros on the table.
I don't get it.
Pun
I don't
intended.
get that.
I know.
I
literally eat everything. I'm like, oh, I have 2 more grams of protein. How many teaspoons of egg whites is that? So I'm just going to drink that.
Cook that up real quick.
No, I just drink it.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. I try not to do that stuff anymore. I try to be a little more normal. Okay, on that note, figure out what works for you guys and go for it. Do it. If you guys ever need suggestions or want to bounce ideas off us, we're always here to listen. We're here for you guys. So you can always shoot us an email at empoweredbyiron@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at empoweredbyiron, and we're on Facebook, same name, Empowered by Iron. And our website, empoweredbyiron.com.
Everything's empowered by iron.
If you specifically want very specific nutrition help, you can find me at fiercelyfueled@gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram at fiercelyfuelednutrition, or my personal Instagram has all my info on it, and that's just Kristen Lander. And Mary, where can people find you?
The internet. You guys can find me as told by Mary on Instagram. And if you have any questions about training or anything, shoot me an email at barebonestraining@gmail.com.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
Bye.